freedom land. Ain't gonna let no jailhouse turn me around. No, turn me around. No, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no jailhouse turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, walking up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. No, turn me around. No, turn me around. Gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, walking up to freedom land. I ain't gonna let no closed door turn me around. No, turn me around. No, turn me around. Gonna let no closed door turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, walking up to freedom land. I ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Turn me around. Turn me around. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking. I'm gonna keep on talking. I'm gonna walking up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let no senator turn me around. No, turn me around. No, turn me around. Gonna let no senator turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking. I'm gonna keep on talking, walking up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. No, turn me around. No, turn me around. No, ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, walking up to freedom land. Ain't gonna let no handcuffs turn me around. No, turn me around. No, turn me around. Ain't gonna let no handcuffs turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking. I'm gonna keep on talking, walking up to freedom. Let me hear you say it. I ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. Turn me around. Turn me around. Turn me around. Keep on walking, keep on talking, walking up to freedom. Ain't gonna let no governor, come on. Turn me around, turn me around, turn me around. Turn me around, keep on walking, keep on walking. This is live stream. Everybody turn around and look at the camera and say, ain't gonna let nobody turn me around. No, turn me around. No, turn me around. Gonna let nobody turn me around. I'm gonna keep on walking, keep on talking, walking up to freedom.
Here's a few reasons why people don't go to church.
I can't come to church until I get my life together.
Church is how I got my life together.
Church is filled with a bunch of hypocrites.
And there's always room for one more.
All they care about is your money.
They care about me, not about my money.
Is there some kind of dress code?
Yes, the code is wear some clothes.
Church, it just makes me nervous.
I was nervous at first, and then I felt right at home.
I'm not sure I believe everything that you believe.
But you can still belong.
Church is for wimpy, girly men.
You want to say that again?
If you knew me and what I've done, you wouldn't want me.
If you knew me and what I have done, you wouldn't be worried.
You can come to my church even if you were brought up Catholic,
Baptist,
Methodist,
Jewish,
Mormon,
Lutheran, Pentecostal,
Presbyterian,
Church of Christ,
Southern Baptist.
a little bit of everything and a whole lot of nothing.
See, it's not about a religion, it's about a relationship.
So please, come to my church.
Where nobody's perfect.
Where beginners are welcome.
where socks are optional, but grace is required.
Where forgiveness is offered.
where hope is alive.
and where it's okay to not be okay. Really.
Please rise as you're able for our opening processional hymn. Good morning. Happy Pride, y'all. We want to say a special welcome to each and every one of you and thank you for joining us on this Pride Sunday. Who are you?
Oh, my name is Jim Manchester. My pronouns are he and him.
Well, hello, Jim.
And
It's
I've
so
got
nice to see you.
colors on today.
Finally.
It's kind of unusual. I know, right? Right. No purple. I don't know where the purple went though.
What?
Do you see? Did no purple in that
No
time?
purple.
How did that happen?
It's time for an upgrade.
Yeah.
We want to say a special welcome to those of you who joined us on yesterday.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It was a little bit hot. Okay, it was a lot hot. You're welcome. But we want to say a special thank you to all of those of you who found us, not only joined us, but found us yesterday at Pride. For those of you who are here with us at Blunt Street, and those of you who are joining us online this morning, I want to say a special welcome to you and thank you for being here. And we hope and we pray that this will be your church home. Amen?
Amen.
I need for y'all to get some energy this morning too. Now. Come on.
There might be some people here who are here for the very first time. We want to welcome you for that, because we know that you may have heard about us just yesterday at our Raleigh Pride. That's an amazing thing. We had such a good booth, a whole bunch of volunteers. Travis was the one who we want to give him a big shout out for making sure that our booth was so good yesterday. Thank you very much. Thank you to all of you volunteers who spoke for us and made people feel welcome yesterday.
Absolutely.
And we may have some other first-time visitors.
Yeah.
Here.
So one of the things that we do here at St. John's for first-time guests is we encourage you when you come in to complete a welcome card. This way we can stay in contact with you, let you know what's going on around here at St. John's. Now this morning, there is this person who is sitting up here on this side row. I think he is here for the first time. Do y'all recognize this guy? Well, good morning and welcome to St. John's. This is a welcome card for you. Now the other thing, I don't think people know who you are.
That's a first-time visitor.
Welcome, Vance.
Yes, welcome. Let's how much we appreciate Pastor Vance being here for the first time in person in 6 weeks. So that is we're really happy that you're here.
Yes, we're thankful that you're here. We're also thankful for healing. We must put it out there as well. So thank you.
And on this occasion, this may be the first time that many of you have met her. But today we have Pastor Wanda with us in person as well. Yes, right here. Yes. So be sure that if you have not had a chance to talk with our campus pastor, a digital campus pastor, to be sure to catch up with Wanda as we close worship today, because she is a delightful person to get to talk with.
And she's got cute shoes on.
Yes. Oh, look. Those are really cute. Be sure you look at Pastor Wanda's shoes before we're done. What else do we need to talk about this morning? We've got a few other things.
But one thing is, I think this is a good time to do this, about pride. Pride stories.
Yes. The first one we have this morning is from our denomination's founder, Reverend Troy Perry.
But I wouldn't give anything for this journey I've been on for over 50 years in the City of Angels.
Reverend Perry had the very first Pride Parade in 1970 when things weren't real fun and games in those days. And then also with starting the Metropolitan Community Churches, it's just the inclusion is so wonderful what he's done, and I'm sure it was very hard for Reverend Perry back in the old days, and I really take my hat off to him and appreciate what he, the foresight he had and the determination and the courage that he had to go forward and just do it and make it happen. And now we're seeing what was in his mind in 1970, what it could be.
Philip and I both, when we were young teenagers, we ran away from home, and it was terrible.
My parents were very homophobic. They had a hard time. But you also have to give your parents and your loved ones time to think about it, go through the pain of it, whatever it is for them. But most importantly, when we come out the other side, to love each other unconditionally is really important.
I want to wish everybody a happy Pride. Here we are. We've made it this far by faith alone.
Pride, baby! Pride!
Dodgers Community Hero Lifetime Achievement Award is presented to Reverend Troy Perry, founder of the Metropolitan Community Church. Member of Los Angeles Pride.
What a treat to get to see Reverend Elder Dr. Troy Perry and Billie Jean King at the same time. Isn't that wonderful? Yeah.
Jim, one of the things that we've been talking about this month is sharing our pride stories. Everybody has a story. Everybody. Now, this has been a very busy month for St. John's. We've been to Jacksonville for their pride, their very first pride. We went to Apex. Some of us went to D.C. last week.
And there was Wilson Pride,
and
the very first Wilson
yes,
Pride.
That's right.
Yes.
Now, one thing that I have noticed in all of these prides is the support of allies as well.
Yes.
That speaks volumes. And I think it's important as we share our pride stories
that we hear from our allies as well. What do you think?
Absolutely. Everybody has a pride story. You may not think of it as a pride story, but I'm sure today, as worship continues, we're going to realize that there's a whole lot more to this than what we ever knew. So we want to know. We want you to know your pride story. We want to hear it. Send it in or put it in the comments if you're with us online. How did you feel at your first Pride Festival or parade? Send that in to us. We are not stopping the Pride stories. Just because this is our Pride Sunday and this is the month of June is our Pride Month, we're going to keep this project going all year. Pride does not stop at the end of this month.
Absolutely. We have a reason every single day to be proud.
So, you know, just because you say, okay, we're winding down, we're not going to have to, they're not going to put a microphone in front of my face. Hey, it might still happen anytime.
Absolutely. And so as we wrap up, deep within our AV sound booth, here's Mike with today's news.
In today's Beat Jesus with Skin On news, MCC's Global General Conference is happening this Friday through Sunday. If you are in or near Raleigh, make plans to be part of St. John's MCC delegation right here at our 4 North Blunt Street campus. We need everyone to register. That way, we can plan meals and allocate space appropriately. Visit stjohnsmcc.org and under the Connect tab in the main menu, select MCC General Conference. Or better yet, use the St. John's MCC app. There you'll see the MCC General Conference listed on the home page as well as under the events section. Once on the page, scroll down to the Watch Parties information section. Use the Watch Party reservations button to sign up. The registration form will look something like this. We are offering the Watch Party for free. However, if you are able, donations to offset food costs are appreciated. The suggested amount is $10. If you're interested in joining from home, you will need to register directly with MCC Global and access the conference through the WUVA web portal or app. You can do this through the St. John's MCC website as well. Look for this section and the registration button. You will know you are at the right place if the registration page looks like this. Don't miss out. Register today. In news that affects our daily lives, in addition to legislative attacks and court decisions that affect human rights in North Carolina and across the nation, there is an attempt by some North Carolina legislators to throw out mail-in ballots by being able to question the legitimacy of the voter's signature in the upcoming November elections. The current requirement is that the absentee voter must have either 2 witnesses or a notary confirm their identity before mailing in their vote. The request by some is to add an additional level of verification that would allow County Board of Elections officials to throw out the ballot if, in their opinion, the signature on the ballot does not look enough like the signature on the request for ballot form. This is a clear attempt at voter suppression, and we must help stop this. The NC Board of Elections is accepting and posting public comments on this change now through July 5th. We have set up an easy link for you to use to tell the North Carolina Board of Elections that this is not necessary or acceptable. Visit tinyurl.com/NCMailInBallot and add your comments today. We must take action now to ensure every vote is counted. In Pride news, Russ on Main in Fuquay Arena is hosting a Pride celebration this afternoon to include a Pride strut down the sidewalk from the municipal building to the restaurant, as well as family-friendly activities including a drag queen story time. The restaurant and town officials have been under attack for permitting this private event. If you are in the Fuquay-Varina area this afternoon, we encourage you to stop by and show your love and support. People will be gathering at the town hall around 3:15 and will strut down the Main Street sidewalk at 3:30. The story hour begins at 4:30 p.m. This concludes this week's edition of Be Jesus with Skin On News.
Thank you very much, Mike. We appreciate getting all of that information, and we're glad you're here. We are live streaming from and in person right here at 4 North Blunt Street in Raleigh. I'm going to ask you to please rise as you're able as our singers come forward. This is Pride Sunday, so we've got some special stuff. We want you to be able to be comfortable singing these songs that we're doing. And so they're coming forward. Remember, anybody can be in this group. It's not, we're not professional singers. We're just enjoying singing with you. And I may need to back up or something like that. I don't know how it goes. Anyway, so thank you. Thank you.
I was sinking deep and down, far from the peaceful shore, fighting fears within, without, sinking to rise no more. But the ruler of the sea heard my despairing cry, from the waters lifted me, now safe and mine. Love lifted me, love lifted me, when nothing else would help. Love lifted me, love lifted me, love lifted me, when nothing else could help. Love lifted me. All my heart to thee I give, ever to thee I fling. In thy blessed presence live, ever thy praises sing. Love so mighty and so true, there is my soul's best songs. Faithful, loving service to thee belong. Love lifted me, love lifted me, when nothing else could help. Love lifted me, love lifted me, love lifted me, when nothing else could help. Love lifted me.
Good morning. As you feel comfortable, please go with me to our God in prayer. Dear Heavenly and gracious Creator, loving Parent, we give you thanks for the opportunity to be here not only in community and fellowship together in this space, but also across the world and the country. We ask this morning that you would continue to watch over us, watch over our community, our state, and our nation. We ask that you would reach out your loving hand, offer grace and mercy and healing to those in need. And we lift up this morning our sister Carolyn McClendon and her family as she transitions in this part of her journey. We ask that you would continue to go with us as we leave this place today, that you would continue to guide us and our families and our friends, touch our lives, and be with us in all that we face. We ask that you would touch our pastors, touch our leaders of MCC, touch the leaders of our state and local governments, and in our nation, that you would help to guide them to govern for all people. We ask all this in the name of your Son, Christ. Amen.
Let's have another hand clap for the Blunt Street Singers. I ain't been here in 6 weeks, so I ain't come up with no new names for you yet. We're going to stick with that for another few weeks. What an amazing thing. Yes. Any information about what now? Caroline? Carolyn McClendon. Carolyn McClendon. We'll talk to Pastor Fred after service, and we can get you in touch with everything going on with Carolyn McClendon. Carolyn McClendon has been around this community of faith for many, many years, and spearheaded for me up until just last year. I met with her around the World AIDS Day services that we held over at Millbrook Baptist Church. And she's just a strong advocate and supporter of this community, and has preached here on numerous occasions. And so, yeah, see Pastor Fred, and we'll get you in touch with everything that's going on with her, and how to reach out if you would like to do that. So, it's good to be back.
It's good to have you back.
I told folks this morning, you know, I hadn't been doing this too long. I've only been the pastor here for 4 years, but I did preach my first sermon when I was 14 years old. And I'm 42 now, so y'all do the math and figure it out. It's the first time and only time I'm ever tell you my real age, so y'all better write it down. It's going to be scrubbed from the audio here in a little bit. Huh? Is that what I am? 22, yeah. Fred had it right, 22. I added a 2 in there somewhere. Wrong place. There we go. Let it all hang out. But when I think about that, of the sermons that I have preached, the times that I've been before people, just being honest with you, I think this is the hardest time I've ever had coming to the pulpit. When I stop and I think about, and for good reasons and difficult ones, this is one of the hardest times I've ever had trying to put together what it is we talk about. What it is that God is calling us to look at, because there is so much that has happened in the last few weeks. We look at everything that's going on right here in North Carolina with HB 755. We look at the new attacks by the Lieutenant Governor. We look at what just happened on Friday to women's health rights, reproductive rights, and the ramifications of what that has for women, and 50 years of work, and what that has potential to mean for the rest of us. It didn't stop us from celebrating Pride yesterday, and I think it actually gave us all the more cause to be present and to show up, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But just I just wanted to be real with y'all. There ain't none of that I wrote down on my notepad here. I just want to be real with y'all. One, so y'all can't hold me too accountable if I mess up and don't do too good today. He ain't been here in 6 weeks, and he came back with that crap. What in the world? But I think it's good for us just to be real with one another sometimes and not put on these fronts. We get good at putting on fronts and just, oh, I'm good. I ain't good, I'm jacked up. I will be good, but I got some stuff. And we have to be honest about that sometimes. And the other thing I thought about, I had Noah go, when I went downstairs to study and just center for a little bit, I went down and left my Bible in my office. And I thought about it as I had Noah go get it for me and bring it in here, and I sat over there and I said, well, I got to walk over there and get my Bible. It's amazing the crutches that we hold on to. I have this thing, and when I have all the scriptures right here, and I got them all printed on this piece of, this electronic piece of paper that we're going to be looking at, but I still had to hold on to this, because I ain't never seen a preacher, at least in my growing up days, walk to the pulpit without a Bible. That's another sermon. We'll get to that one some other time. I ain't going to do a Carlton on y'all and take you off in the left field. We're going to stick. Thank y'all for taking time to be here today. Thank you for all of those who joined us yesterday down in we're right in the middle of now, Fayetteville Street here in Raleigh, as we 2 blocks over, as we celebrated Pride. And thank you to everybody who went with us last weekend as we traveled to D.C. We took 20 people from here to D.C. 20 people. And as I understand it, y'all still had a big crowd here at church. I had some people text me and said, "Hey, I see a bunch of y'all going to D.C. Are we still having church this weekend?" Yeah, we still having church. Still show up. Don't go nowhere. That's amazing. So thank y'all for all of the work that you continue to do and for being here and being present. Folks ask me all the time, what can we do? And the biggest thing that we can do, the most valuable, most precious gift that we can give anybody in any organization, in any movement that we're in, is the gift of our presence. Simply being present. That's the most precious gift that you'll ever give. I'd submit that's the most precious gift you're going to give to anybody, any individual, is the gift of your presence. So thank you for taking time to be with us. As we come together today, we do continue in this celebration. I know I'm starting off on more of a somber note, and sorry to bring it down a minute. But we're continuing this celebration of Pride. We celebrated yesterday. We've been celebrating all month, and we'll continue celebrating. We have Pride events still coming up throughout the rest of the year. We'll be at Charlotte Pride in August, I believe that is. We're going to be at Asheville Pride along with our sister church, MCC Sacred Journey. Later in the year, I think that one happens in September. And then we've been asked to coordinate and work together with MCC to put a booth at Upstate Pride in South Carolina, so down in the Greenville area of South Carolina. And that one doesn't happen until November. So as Jim and Fred were talking about your Pride stories, we're going to need them because we got a lot of Pride that we're still going to do for the rest of this year. And got a lot of opportunities if you're willing to travel and be with us at any of those places. We certainly need folks to go with us and to be there. But we're continuing in these celebrations of Pride. We're continuing for those of us who watched or went to D.C., those of us who joined online, we're coming back energized and ready and looking for what it is that we do next. But we also come together in the midst of this weekend, fresh off of the Supreme Court's decision and then the remarks of Clarence Thomas and the outright attack that he made on the LGBTQ community. All of this taking place right after HB 755 is being pushed through our state government here. New renewed attacks on Drag Queen Story Hour that's being pushed, and folks that are protesting that, nearly canceling some of the events, storming in and scaring the kids and others. So we come together this morning with a mixture of emotions and a mixture of feeling as we try to figure out what is it that we do. But I'm excited and I'm encouraged as I came out yesterday to out Raleigh, and I got a chance to see people still coming together, and I would say probably renewed sense of coming together, because we know now is the time to come together. We have to remember that Pride is a celebration, but it is also a riot. Pride is a protest. They were talking about the folks that show up with signs and telling us all we're going to hell and all the other stuff that they like to talk about. One of them yesterday got hung up on this mess about Jesus giving him a new engine. He was referencing himself as a car, and he was saying Jesus, and he went on about this for a little while, and I find we were holding banners trying to hide them so people didn't have to look at them. And I finally, I looked at him, I said, I hope it's an electric one because gas is high. If Jesus is going to give me a new engine, let's get it electric. Let's go on and do it. But we come together in the midst of all of these things that are going on, and we see folks that are energized. And we see people that continue to show love, even in the face of this adversity and in the face of the violence that we see taking place. So today I want to lift up the idea of celebrating you. What does that mean? What does that even look like? Celebrating you, celebrating all of who you are. I'm going to break with our more recent tradition. I'm going to go back and do two readings today. One's a scripture reading, the other one y'all will find a very familiar verse. The scripture reading is rather short. But Mark chapter 12, we hear these words around verse 28. One of the religion scholars came up, hearing the lively exchanges of the question and answer, and seeing how sharp Jesus was in his answers, he put in his question, which is the most important of all the commandments? Jesus said, the first in importance is, the Lord your God is one. So love the Lord your God with all your passion and prayer and intelligence and energy. And here's the second. Love others as well as you love yourself. There are no other commandments that rank with these. Love God and love others as you love yourself. Our second reading is from one of my favorite songs, and one that y'all will probably know very well. This is Me from the Greatest Showman soundtrack, and it's a few excerpts of that song. I am not a stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say, 'cause we don't want your broken parts. I've learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they say. No one will love you as you are. Another round of bullets hits my skin. Well, fire away, 'cause today I won't let the shame sink in. We are bursting through the barricades, and we are reaching for the sun, for we are warriors. Yes, that's what we've become. I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there is a place for us, for we are glorious. We are warriors. Yes, that is what we have become. When the sharpest words want to cut me down, I'm going to send a flood and I'm going to drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised, I am who I am meant to be. This is me. Look out, 'cause here we come. And we're marching on to the beat we drum. I am not scared to be seen. I make no apologies. This is me. 53 years ago, in the early hours of June 28th, riots began in response to a police raid at the Stonewall Inn. Those riots and protests that continued over the next few nights gave birth to the modern LGBTQ+ rights movement. Today we see renewed attempts and renewed attacks on the queer community and on women's rights. In 1970, the very next year, pride marches took place in New York on Christopher Street, and then in Los Angeles, Christopher Street West, I think is what they called it then. The Reverend Bob Humphreys, Morris Kite, and someone you all just saw on video, and some of you know very well, our founder, the Reverend Troy Perry, established what is still the oldest running gay parade, LGBTQ pride parade in the world, in Los Angeles. This year, we celebrated yesterday 10 years of the annual Out Raleigh Pride Festival. Our first Pride Festival, though, took place 34 years ago. 2,000 people gathered at the NC State Bell Tower and marched down Hillsborough Street to Capitol Square. Jimmy Creech a few years ago came and spoke at one of our very first Interfaith Pride service, and he shared his account of that experience and what it was like to be there, and it's fascinating to be able to have heard him talk about that. He recounted clergy being gathered and waiting as it was their spot to join in the parade, and when it came time, he and other clergy joined and started marching through the parade route. And as they were marching, he recalled a church group with a little red wagon. They were marching along, and in that little red wagon they had a boom box or some speakers. And it was folks from the church, and they were singing various songs, but the one he recalled that evening was Just As I Am. Songs that shared a message of hope and love. That church that Jimmy was talking about was St. John's Metropolitan Community Church, led by the Reverend June Norris. One of the most notable moments that Jimmy talked about in that time he was talking with us, he said he noticed that along the parade route, all the other churches as they walked along had been locked up and closed up. There wasn't anybody home. He said it was in that moment that he realized that God was not in those buildings, but God was in that parade. God was not in those locked up, closed up buildings, but God was in the parade. This year, St. John's has had the honor and been blessed to take part in events, pride events, Jacksonville, Apex, Wilson, and then now here in Raleigh, and then coming up, as I told you earlier, we'll be in Charlotte, be in Asheville, and down in upstate South Carolina. I think that's about a 10-county region that pride's coming together. Some of these places, it's the very first Pride events that the areas have held, which I can't tell you how amazing that is to see and to hear. Now, some of y'all asking, why in the world you sharing all this after you just read this Mark text? What's that got to do with the story? When Jesus was questioned about what the most important thing is, what the most important commandment is, Jesus' response was to love. To love one another, to love God. But as I often point out, the most important piece in that we all look over, often look over, is love you. He said, love your neighbor, love your friends, love everybody around you as you love yourself. You gotta love you. Love others as well as you love yourself. When I go to pride parades, when I go to these pride events, and yesterday was no exception, what I see is love. As I contemplate, people ask me during the week, because, first time I've been back in 6 weeks, they ask me, are you ready for your sermon? Are you going to give us any insights as to what it is? Yeah, if y'all didn't know, there are those people that call and ask those questions. You can ask God, I ain't going to give no names, but you can ask some of them how many secrets I've ever told. Pride is one of those things I have never sat down and tried to prepare the sermon weeks in advance, because I am always moved at the pride event. And I shouldn't say never. I tried that one time and I realized it wasn't going to work. I'm always moved at the event. So as I sat down and leading up to the event, and yesterday as I was thinking, what scripture can we use to highlight what we're seeing here? What it is that we're seeing here in this scripture came to mind, because what we are seeing is love. We're seeing the manifestation of what Jesus told us to do. What Jesus taught us to do, and that was to love one another. When I go to these pride events, I see love. I see people sharing love. I see people looking for love. I see people celebrating themselves, not afraid of who they are, being all of themselves, all of who God called and created them to be. People lifting one another up, supporting each other in who they are, or in some cases supporting each other as we figure out who we are. It's okay to question and ask those things. It ain't never too old to do it. You can do it at 3 years old, or you can do it at 70. You can ask the question, who am I? I see love when I come to these places, when I come and see, bless you, when I come and I see people gathered. I see people who have found a safe space where they can be themselves. Even if it's just for an hour or two, they escaped whatever the reality they live in. They found this place where they can come and be themselves. We see others like us with similar lived experiences. I see God in the people in the pride events. I see people doing exactly what Jesus told us to do in this text. Loving one another, supporting one another, being there for one another. I can't tell you how many people came up to us yesterday and thanked us for being there. Just thanked us for being present. As I told you, presence is the most valuable gift we'll ever give. They thanked us for being there. One person came up to me and said, and I don't know her, I wasn't here when she came to the church years ago. She said, thank you for being here, and thank your church for everything y'all have done for me. When I came out in 1990, y'all were there for me, and you gave me a safe place. If it wasn't for your church, I don't know where I would be today. And I don't know if I would be here today. 1990. Jay, that's a testament to the work that y'all started. Kenny and then others who have been here for all those years. Wanda, you weren't here yet in 90, were you? Were you here in 90? Yeah, you were here. Work that you did. That's what y'all did. Fred might have been here in 92. He was real young at 22, though. Jim Kincaid, I see you back there, too. That's a testament to the work that y'all started in 1976. Coming up telling us that. Others came up and said, hey, I see that shirt you wear, and I'm wearing it today. Now, it was hot yesterday. I sweated a lot, so I did wash it. So just clarified it. I ain't re-wearing today. Free pastor hugs. Can y'all see? Absolutely free, no charge. Although we will pass the offering basket. People came up seeing the shirt, and they just ran up and hugged me. What was remarkable in those moments as they saw that, Pastor Fred wore one down in Jacksonville, and I'm sure had similar experiences, but what was remarkable in that is some of those people that came up and hugged me needed a hug, needed somebody to hug them. There were free mom hugs out there were free dad hugs out there. They ran up and they some of them needed a hug. I don't know the percentage of them that needed a hug, but I can tell you the percentage I do know. I needed 100% of them. Because there wasn't one, and I had to choke it back, there wasn't one of them that came up and hugged me where I didn't well up with tears as we were embracing each other. And I realized in those moments that I needed that. That I needed them maybe more than the folks that came up to hug me. That was God sharing love. People sharing love. Sharing this love that Jesus has called us to. This love that Jesus talks about in this Mark text. To love one another and to be there for one another. I had the opportunity, and Pastor Wanda had the opportunity to stand there and hold those barriers to protect folks from some of the more colorful folks that wanted to say some things and talk about this engine business. I still ain't figured out Jesus the mechanic yet, but hey. I want to go old school and say my Jesus was a physician, a great healer, but now yours is a mechanic. Okay, well, just work on cars. We had the opportunity to be there, and I had so many folks, and Pastor Wanda had so many folks that came by. I thanked us for being in that space, and several of them come by and said, you know, they're trying to preach and trying to share a message of God, and they said, y'all are doing more for God than they ever did. We were standing there silent, simply being love, being present. Being present. I had folks, and this really messed me up because I didn't know how to respond to it. I wasn't prepared for it. I had folks that walked up to me yesterday, some that were saying, "Oh, you're Pastor Vance. We watch y'all's church on television or on the screens and whatever, Facebook and YouTube and all the places we put it out there. Pastor Wanda gets it out there all over the place. We love what y'all are doing. We love the work that y'all are doing to fight for our rights." And they said, "What are y'all going to do to make sure that they don't take our marriage equality away? What are y'all going to do to make sure that we're okay with what's happening right now?" I don't know if you've ever had somebody walk up to you and ask you what you're going to do about what the Supreme Court just did. But that just to let y'all know, there's a lot that we all going to have to do, not me. But people are looking for answers. They're looking for ways to get involved. They're looking for what it is that we are going to do and what we do together. But what I saw in all of that is us coming together, doing this thing we talked about a couple of weeks ago, being in life together. Because we were celebrating who we are, we were being all of who God called and created us to be, we were sharing love with one another, and then we were sharing our struggles with one another, trying to figure out what is it that we're going to do. If that's not the gospel that Jesus taught us, that's not the message that Jesus taught us, I don't know what is. If that's not what Jesus walked this earth and said, this is the way that we go forward, this is how we do this, I don't know what it is. Maybe I need to just step out and go somewhere else. That is the Jesus that I understand. Jim asked me, and he's asked several of y'all heard him asking again this morning, him and Fred both. He's got Fred looped in asking him about these pride stories. And I told him I would share mine at some point. But the truth is, my pride story is not a single event. I didn't go to my first pride event until I was already here as a deacon, I think. Maybe I was just on the board of trustees or something, I don't remember, but it wasn't until I was here. My first pride experience, the first time I found welcome and inclusion was at a gay bar, at Legends Nightclub. Y'all have heard me talk about Taj Mahal and my experience there, but outside of that, and that's a powerful story, we won't go down that road because I'll be preaching another sermon. the most powerful part of that night was I got a chance to go to a place for the first time in my life where I could see people who looked like me, who were experiencing life together like me, folks holding hands, two men being able to hold hands and kiss, or two women being able to hold hands and kiss. First time I'd ever seen that in my life. I clutched my pearls. I was a little country boy from Fairmont, North Carolina. I was like, oh, Lord, what is this? Okay, I like it, but I don't know what to do. This first time I'd had a chance to be able to be in that space where it was okay. I kept looking over my shoulder like, Lord, who's going to see me here? It's the first time I'd ever had a chance to be present. And then I was at Pride events with the church over the next several years, a few years later when I came. So I got to experience Pride from a different perspective. I didn't actually go to Pride and go for me to experience it. I went to help volunteer and help at the church's booth. What was always amazing to me is year over year over year, everybody that came up, and at the time it was Pride in Durham, and it was, I think, the only one in the state. And people would come from all over the state. Like, I didn't realize there was a church that would be here. I didn't realize that God could love me. Year after year after year, we saw the need for people to find a place of love, inclusion, a safe space for them to be. The first Pride event that I had a chance to actually go and experience as a spectator was DC Pride in 2016. If any of you remember 2016, we woke up to the news of Pulse nightclub, the massacre that had taken place there. What that reminded me of, and what all the other Pride events reminded me of, is the need for us to be present and us to show up and to live out this gospel, this message that Jesus has called us to live, and to love one another, to love ourselves, and then go out and love others just as Jesus has taught us to love. Because in those moments, I thought about my first time going to Legends nightclub and the sanctuary that I found there. And Reverend Terry Steed, Terry Steed Pierce, who's down in Orlando, stood at the press conference and said these people were in their sanctuary. It was their church because they had been told they couldn't be themselves anywhere else, including in the church. They were in their sanctuary. So I was reminded of the need to be present for people, to love people, to show up, to celebrate, and to remind them that they are loved. That they are loved. That is what we do when we come together. When we come together on Sunday mornings, when we come together at Pride events, when we go together and have a Friday evening meal down at the Mexican restaurant. I can't remember the name of it. Or the Italian place that I always messed the name up over on Hillsborough Street, down by, or Western Boulevard, I think. That's what we do when we come together and we celebrate, we lift each other up. We're there for one another. It can be a gathering of 2 or 3, or it can be a gathering of 400. But we come together and we lift one another up, we love on one another, and that is what Jesus asked us to do. More importantly, that's what Jesus told us we were supposed to do. Love. Love. I'm reminded of that love, and I'm reminded of justice whenever I go to these Pride events. A declaration of love that's being made in the face of adversity and in the face of hatred. A declaration that we are called to be love, that we are to tap into that love when we celebrate who we are and all of who we are, not just the parts that the world told us it was okay to celebrate. I'll share this last bit and I'll take my seat. So Robbie, I don't know where you at. I don't see you in here. Oh yeah, there you are, back there in the corner hiding. I'll hush here in a minute. They told me they got used to them short sermons when I was gone, and I told them I might make up for lost time. Is it like rollover minutes where I can carry them over from one month to the next? Okay. Do they still do those? At the first Interfaith Pride service that we had here in Raleigh, I had the honor of being able to bring the message at that service, and at that worship experience, the Triangle Gay Men's Chorus performed, and they sang that song that we quoted just earlier, This is me. I am not a stranger to the dark. Hide away, they say, 'cause we don't want your broken parts. I've learned to be ashamed of all my scars. Run away, they say, no one will love you as you are. These words are all too familiar for us gathered here today, not just LGBTQ folk, but all people who are oppressed or are facing any forms of oppression. We are familiarized with these words all too often. These words have been made all the more painful by institutions, religion, and politics. Those places where we look for hope and we look for support, and oftentimes we found the very sources of hatred, discrimination, and division that have for so long plagued us. Extremists and institutionalized religion have for far too long perverted our faith and spread a message of hate. Somebody said yesterday that they were talking about Christianity, and I said there's two different factions of Christianity. There's Jesus, following Jesus, and then there's the religious part of Christianity. I ain't want nothing to do with the religious part of Christianity, because that is made up by people who were trying to jack us up. And some of us say, I want to clarify this, some of us, I say people, it was made up by people. We oftentimes say it's made up by men. Predominantly probably was men, but as Reverend Dolores Berry used to remind us, she said that people refer to the devil as he. She said, but I've known some women. So all of us was in that where we jacked it up. These words have been made all the more painful by these places that pushed hate where we were trying to find love. But when I look to these words in Mark, love God, love you, and love others. When I look at the love that I saw poured out yesterday down on the Fayetteville Street of downtown Raleigh, when I look at the love that's been poured out through this place through 46 years of ministry, when I talk to people like the woman that came up to me yesterday that said she found this place in 1990 and doesn't know that she would be here today if she had not found this place, I see that love. That song goes on to say, another round of bullets hits my skin, will fire away, 'cause today I won't let the shame sink in. We are bursting through the barricades and reaching for the sun. We are warriors. Yes, that is what we have become. I won't let them break me down to dust. I know that there is a place for us because we are glorious. Today we must stand and say that I won't give in. That we as a people are breaking through the barricades. For those who asked me yesterday, what is it that y'all are doing? I can tell you what we are doing. We are busting as a people, not Vance Haywood, not Fred, not Wanda, not any individual. All of us are bursting through the barricades. We are busting through the barricades in a society that has tried to erect a barricade to confine us into stereotypes and heteronormativity. We are bursting through the barricades of injustice. We are bursting through the barricades of inequality. We are bursting through the barricades of hatred. We are bursting through the barricades of intolerance. And yes, we are even bursting through the barricades of a Supreme Court that is corrupt and highlighting the lie of justice that we have been told we have in America. We are bursting through these barricades because we are warriors. Yes, that is who we are and what we have become. We are warriors standing together to share a message of love for all people, especially those who have been oppressed, those who are marginalized, and those who are so often demonized by society that they live in. We today stand. We stand together, we stand in solidarity, and we say that you are love. You are love. No matter where you are, for folks joining us online, you are love. You are loved. You are beautiful. You are a reflection of the divine. When the sharpest words want to cut me down, I'm going to send a flood, I'm going to drown them out. I am brave, I am bruised. I am who I am meant to be. This is me. We stand today and say that there is a better way. There is a way of love, unconditional love for all of God's people. It all starts with love. We must love ourselves. We must love those around us, and we must love each other. And the last words I will leave with you are from the prophet herself, the Right Reverend RuPaul. If you can't love yourself, how the hell are you going to love anybody else? Can I get amen? Amen.
Well, I woke up this morning with my mind and it was stay on woke up this morning with my mind and it was stayed on justice. I woke up this morning with my mind and it was stayed on justice. Hallelujah, 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 freedom. Well, I woke up this morning with my mind and it was stayed on freedom. Oh, I woke up this
Stay. Threw that one in on me. I had them to check and see if they could even play it this morning. I didn't know they were actually going to do it on me, so that worked out just well. We have to wake up sometimes. When I got back from Hawaii, when I went on vacation, I came back, and the school shooting had just happened in Robb Elementary School. HB 755 was hitting the ground, and so I started, before we even came back from Hawaii, I had to start working and trying to figure out what do we do with all of this. So we hit the ground running. Then we ran into D.C. to go and stand with the Poor People's Campaign and all the work that we did there. And we see the work that's happening, or the mess that's happening with the Supreme Court. And through all of this, this song just kept playing over and over in my mind. It's an old song we used to sing in church. So I woke up with my mind stayed on Jesus. Then we through the freedom movements, we've used those words, and we woke up with our mind stayed on freedom and justice and love. We've looked at this song as an anthem for us to be able to sing and to give us hope as we move forward. So as we continue, yes, there's a lot going on, and it can be overwhelming. But I encourage you to sing that song when you wake up in the morning. That I woke up with my mind stayed on Jesus. I woke up with my mind stayed on justice. I woke up with my mind stayed on freedom. As we move forward, there is work to be done. Yes, there's a lot of work to be done, but we will get there. I'm reminded of the words that Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. left us with, and I think what was his last public speech. He said, "I've seen the promised land." He said, "I may not get there with you, but we as a people will get there. We as a people will get there." So I'll leave you with these words. I told you I was finished, but y'all started me up again. Y'all keep playing songs I like, and we're going to go. I leave these words. We will get there. No matter how overwhelming it may seem, no matter how disheartening it is, know that we will get there, that love will win. Hate will try, but love will win. As they'll remind you about as we close back out, that we are God's beloved, and because of that mere fact that hate cannot win. Hate cannot win. There is work to be done. Our presence is what is required. There's work to be done, but love will win. Thank you, Robbie.
St. John is important to me because when I first moved to North Carolina, it was such a welcoming place. I first met some of the people at the first Pride I had ever went to, and everybody was so welcoming. And they gave me information about the church. I came home, Googled everything, saw what they were about, and went to church that Sunday, and was just the love you felt and seeing the outpouring of giving.
I think St. John's is a living example of my faith. You know, the programs and things that are there, such as feeding the homeless, providing education, providing the food shelter or food pantry. Those are things that that I believe in strongly as a nurse, but also who I am as a human being.
Come just as you are. Hear the prophet call. Nervous. Come just as you are. Come and see. Come receive. Come and live forever. Come just as you are. Hear the Spirit call. Come just as you are. Come and see. Come receive. Come and live forever. Life everlasting, strength for today. Taste the living water and never thirst again. Come just as you are. Hear the Spirit call. Come just as you are. Come and see. Come receive. Come and live forevermore. As you receive communion this morning, remember, God accepts you just as you are. This is your table, and you are invited to come just as you are. God knows that you need it. There is love at this table waiting for you.
Mr. Manchester.
Oh my. What a morning. Thank you, Pastor Wanda, for leading us in our communion meal today. That's an important part of our fellowship. Every time we get together, we celebrate that here. I've got one more pride story I'd like to tell. And it's not mine. It actually is the pride story of a young woman who came to the Connections program on Friday, and Trey and Fenton and I got to hear this story in person on Friday night. And this one is a heartwarming pride story. Because this young woman, she told us her parents were very supportive of her whenever she was growing up, and she knew it would be safe to tell them. When she finally realized who she was, she knew it would be safe to come out to them. And she did. And they were very supportive. Now, the reason this is a pride story, because that first year, that first Pride Festival that happened after she came out, she had to work. She wasn't able to go to that Pride Festival. So her mother went for her, took her phone and texted all the way through, up and down the festival, all of these things that her daughter was missing, all of these people that she was meeting on her daughter's behalf, all of the things that she knew that her daughter would want to be at and couldn't, and she wanted to show that she was very proud of her daughter. You know, we just love those kinds of stories, but that's actually not the end of the story. On Friday night, she told us that yesterday would actually be the first time she got to go to Pride. So she was one of the people that you saw that was so excited, so joyful to be there. And so I want to give her a special, special welcome round of applause. I'm glad she could be there at Pride yesterday for her very first in-person time.
Think back with me. I'm going to test your memory just a little bit. Now, back when Vance and I were a little bit younger, I can remember going to Prides, and it was almost like a big family reunion because you knew everybody. You remember those days when you actually knew everybody? It's like, what's the point of being out here representing this church, because we know everybody who's already here? Yesterday, I counted 5 people that I knew.
Wow.
Only 5 people. That
Wow.
shows, one, how far this community has come as a whole. You know, all the prides that we went to this month, I saw people I've never seen before. They were celebrating who they were. And it's just amazing to see that. It's just absolutely amazing.
It is. It is. It is.
I see you over there thinking.
Tell us your pride story. Please, please. We want to hear it.
So, what did you take away from today's sermon?
I just said it.
Smarty pants.
Yeah.
Well, the best way I can sum up today's sermon is by what we're going to do next. So please rise as you're able. Vance quoted a piece of scripture that we're all very, very familiar with. It's this whole piece about love. But there's something each and every week that we do as a community of faith. We remind each other and ourselves who we are and whose we are. So I want you to repeat after me this morning. I want you just to yourself and say, I am.
I am.
God's beloved.
God's beloved.
Deeply loved.
Deeply loved.
Richly gifted.
Richly gifted.
Highly favored.
Highly favored.
And abundantly blessed.
And abundantly blessed.
Turn to your neighbor and remind your neighbor this morning that you are.
You are.
God's beloved.
God's beloved.
Deeply loved.
Deeply loved.
Richly gifted.
Richly gifted.
Highly favored.
Highly favored.
And abundantly blessed.
And abundantly blessed.
All around the world. this Pride Sunday morning, we are God's beloved, deeply loved, richly gifted, highly favored, and abundantly blessed. Go out today and share that good news with someone who needs to hear that today.
Have a blessed week, everyone.